What's up, ecosystem? Welcome back to ATI Auto Business. It's Friday, it's noon. That means it's time for Cars on the Move. Ty is live in the parking lot, and we have a couple special guests we're really excited to have with us. We have Joe Overby and Nick Zulovich of Cherokee Media Group, and we're just going to jump right in because we're really lucky to have them for 30 minutes with us live. Please do say hello in the live chat or comment below, leave a like. Gentlemen, can you see me and hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having us on.
Wow.
Afternoon, everybody.
Hey, we are really happy to have you here. This is, in our minds, a continuation of the time we got to spend together at NIADA. In fact, yeah, let's go to the photo album. I just have a couple of images here to share. Now, let's see. Let me make sure I share in the Zoom meeting here. Okay. You are Joe Overby. You are Nick Zulovich. You are on ATI on Cars on the Move on a Friday. We did the NIADA coverage before the show, during the show, after the show, because NIADA brings a lot, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And that's when you see that, you know you're looking at ATI live convention footage. Now this is the photo. This is the moment, and you see, over almost 2,000 impressions. I don't know where it's at now. People really liked this, and we did too. What's going on in this photo?
Well, it was sort of it's sort of serendipitous. We unfortunately our rooms weren't ready. Nick and I, when we got there, we checked in, and y'all's weren't as well, and so they said, well, you can hang out for a while. We'll hold on to your luggage. And the four of us just happened to bump into each other at the same time in the lobby, and then decided to go have some brunch and kind of made a nice morning of it, and got to sit and chit chat for a while. And, we were right in the hallway where a lot of people were walking past at one of the restaurants. And, it was just good to catch up with you guys and see people as they were walking past, and just a really nice start to the conference.
Serendipitous is such a good word, Nick. Yeah.
And as always, the guy on the far right was always ready to eat. So
I'm telling you. Hey, so what was the name of the cafe? Anybody remember? Was it like Tipping Point or something?
Like I think it's called the Terrace Point Cafe.
Terrace Point, that's it. Terrace Point Cafe at the Wynn Las Vegas. A wonderful place to eat, hang out. And this is what's crazy. You bought us breakfast, and then you bought us lunch.
Wow.
I think the next day.
That was awesome.
But
that was where I got hooked on lattes, right there. The big yellow.
Exactly. Ty's first latte.
I'm addicted now. Smack.
We hung out later on. I saw you guys, it seems like for a day and a half. We saw you guys a lot. Every time we turned around, there's Joe Overby. Nick
Hey, that brings up a good point.
Yes.
You guys, is it did you guys always hit conferences, or is this something kind of a new deal, or what? Seems like we bump into you guys quite a bit.
Yeah, I would say, it's certainly, I think it's ramped back up in the last maybe year or so. During COVID, obviously, when there was a cutback in conferences, we didn't travel as much, obviously, but, I always tell people, I probably average eight to 10 trips a year to go to conferences. Okay. So it's enough where it kind of keeps it interesting and fun, but it's not overwhelming. I'm not jumping on a plane every other week, but Nick, you're about the same, right?
Yeah, it's usually like averages out to be like one or two trips a quarter. So it's not too arduous by any means. I definitely do not envy the road warriors who are gone Monday through late Thursday, early Friday, three weeks out of the month, or every single week of the month. I don't envy those folks in the slightest. So it was kind of a unique situation. Joe and I oftentimes we do not go to the same events. Joe is more like he'll be in Chicago later this year at NAAA's annual shindig, where I will not participate in that. But then 2 weeks before NIADA, I was at the NAF Association's non-prime auto financing conference, and Joe was not. So NIADA definitely presented itself that other than our own shindigs, we were at the same event for an extended period of time.
Yeah, yeah. They're sort of divide and conquer. I mean, we aside from used car week, where it's kind of all hands on deck, we sort of in our respective beats, we sort of split those up. But one thing I can say that the value for us going to conferences like this is, beyond the great networking and meeting new people and catching up with old friends is the chance to get a lot of kind of legwork done for projects that we have going on. And that was certainly the case for this one. I mean, we had Nick and I this week have just completed a 4,400 word white paper, and we got a lot of legwork for that done at NIADA by listening into the sessions, doing interviews. I think between the two of us, we recorded about a dozen podcasts, and it's material that I did a profile feature story interview, and so the chance to be in person and not only see these sessions where they're presenting industry data to attendees, but the chance to have side conversations, do podcast interviews. You're really able to get a lot of the background legwork done for producing editorial content at these live events, rather than having to make 14 phone calls. You can run up to somebody in the expo hall or schedule a 15-minute interview on site.
Great point. That is a really good point. And we do the same. We divide and conquer, so we're rarely at the same show together.
Yeah, pretty rare.
So,
but you guys, Jay, it was, I don't know, it was maybe a week or two ago. We were doing a live show, and it's like, man, there's really not a lot of news. Before today's show, I'm scrolling through LinkedIn, and every other post I've got automotive news, Joe Overby, Nick Zulovich, and I've got so many questions about the current news cycle that I could go crazy, but I'll defer for now. How's that?
So let's do this. We'll bring up the website, autoremarketing.com. Right? We're already 10 minutes in the show. We don't have time to waste. So, autoremarketing.com. I'm going to share the link in the live chat. I'm going to kick this off and give the intro.
Hey, before you give the intro, we should really let's talk real quick about why this channel follows this particular organization. Not only do we like Nick and Joe, we also really like Bill, and we like Dana and King Jessica, and keep going. A lot of really amazing people at Cherokee Media. One of the reasons we keep up with this, guys, is because this tells us, especially for me in the used car market, what am I looking at in the next month, the next 3 months, 6 months for me and my transportation business, or me and my used car business, right? Or me and my auction. I mean, the auction news and cycle right now is ridiculous. So how do you get to automotive news to sign up to be a subscriber? Is that the right word, Joe?
So, and just to share, and I'm going to now jump in with my intro, because that is context for why I found autoremarketing.com years ago, right? Autoremarketing.com, I've been going to this website for years, and it has an easy to digest layout, lots of current information, lots of updates, and then it's in the email from, again, I think it's Auto Remarketing Podcast, where you can get links to the podcast. So through subscribing to autoremarketing.com, and I'm a CMG premium user, which is only $25 a month. I get access to all the articles, the podcasts. That's a lot of information. And so having said that, I mean, behind the scenes, this must be a lot of work.
Gee.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of moving pieces. We, again, like our other, like going to conferences, Nick and I kind of divide and conquer, and then we have a great digital team who has set up a template that makes it kind of pretty hands-on and easy to update the site pretty regularly. But yeah, Nick, your thoughts?
To quickly chime in, I think what what helps tremendously is Joe and I have worked together now for almost 16 years, so that is experience and collaboration that really you can't put a price on, and you just have to go, just like fine wine, you it ages nicely. So that's an advantage that we have, and we're really blessed to say now that we've just this here in recent weeks added a new teammate who y'all are likely familiar with, and viewers likely know as well, Andy Freidlander, who was with NIADA, coincidentally enough, for nearly a decade as well. So our team just got significantly stronger here in recent weeks.
Yeah, and to Nick's point, he actually it worked out that Andy was able to join us at NIADA, and it was a good. We, of course, Nick and I had both knew him beforehand, and had worked with him in a kind of in a public relations capacity previously, but it was cool to get to hang out with the three of us as colleagues for the first time, and as even we all got to do kind of spread the task out of covering a convention between the three of us, and it was just nice to be able to get to know him a little bit better as well.
Yeah, Andy's a good guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Super cool.
So to be right, because you just made me think, there's media groups around, and when you get connect with others, bringing Andy in, that's a real win. He's got a lot of experience that doesn't have to start from the ground up. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How big is the Cherokee Media Group team?
So, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the company itself, our overall parent company, S&A Cherokee, has roughly 50 employees, and then part of the company is a public relations firm called S&A Communications.
Right.
And
saw
then
that.
And then the other part of the company is Cherokee Media Group. And then within Cherokee Media Group, we have a handful of local lifestyle magazines here in the Raleigh area, of North Carolina. And then we have our automotive, events and publications. And I would say, and then, we have designers and digital team and that sort of thing. But I would say of people who exclusively work on our automotive events and publications, whether that's ad sales, design, conference planning team, I'd say there are about 15. Nick, would you say that's right?
Yeah.
I want to take a look at let's go to autoremarketing.com. McConkey Auction Group launches hybrid auction in Alaska. Okay, that interests me. But since I've got you guys here, can you summarize what this is about?
Yeah. So they provided a news release, and we did kind of a quick recap of it. It's something that we may want to look at again, for used car week session or kind of an extended feature story. But essentially what they did is they launched a greenfield, completely new auction site, which anecdotally you don't see as much anymore. It seems much of the auction expansion has been through acquisition of existing facilities, but this is the launch of a brand new auction. And the way the auction is set up is to be hybrid. And so, dealers can go there to do all of the tasks they would normally do at an auction, like, inspect a vehicle, preview it, take it for a test drive. I think it even has a test track, they said. And then if they want to participate in a sale of that vehicle, if they want to bid on it, they can either do so in a what they call the dealer lounge, where they can go and bid for it online right there in the auction, or if they wanted to come one day and then go home and bid on it, from the comfort of their home or office. They can do that as well. So it seems like it has all of the, amenities of a physical auto auction without the physical sale, cars running through the lane. And we've seen, and I know that McConkey Group has been doing that, and they've been partnering with this format with eBlock, who has provided some of that, kind of platform, the digital platform power,
the functionality.
But it's interesting because I think a lot of perhaps this type of format was tested out a good bit during COVID, where people they didn't want to run cars through the auction. They didn't want to have all those people there on sale day. So people were able to come to the auction and, check out the vehicles, do inspections, kind of kick the tires, and then, bid on it remotely. And you saw Odessa and Mannheim, try out different formats of this hybrid approach. And then you see, we mentioned eBlock. They've acquired physical auto auctions, yet they're a digital auction company, and they're sort of going with the hybrid format. So it seems the auction industry is really moving towards what a lot of dealers and retailers and other spaces have done, where it's providing the types of things that people want to do in person, but then also giving them the flexibility to buy completely online if they so choose.
So that's interesting because see this lot behind me right here? It says Roper Range Line. So there's a Kia store just down the road. And this is their used car lot. This is a main drag here in Joplin, Missouri. So I stopped in. I knew the guy, Brandon. Hey, Brandon, care if I do the show here? No, go ahead. What are you doing, Brandon? I'm buying online today. Oh, wow. Okay. Tell me more, right? Where are you buying at? They're over here, over there. I really was going to this is what Brandon said. He said, I was planning on going to the auction today over in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Z66, but some things came up and somebody had to go. So I'm staying here and I need inventory. And I don't know if you can really see the inventory here, but it's what I would consider late model. I asked him, have the prices been dropping? He said, yeah, the prices are dropping, which matches the Jared Capitalist repost that Joe posted, Black Book. What are we at, Joe? 9 weeks of wholesale decline. Is that right?
Yeah. And Nick actually wrote that story. So
tell us more about that, Nick.
I think definitely combination of seasonality. What we're in the 4th of July time frame is adding to it, but as you referenced, Black Book has said that it's nine weeks in a row where wholesale prices have softened. The sales rates have either been steady or softening as well. So a lot of no sales through the lanes. That, like to your point, Ty, like that lifted Wrangler with the mudder tires and everything behind you. That might be an appealing unit to someone in Tulsa or Joplin, but in a more suburban or urban area, perhaps not so much. So it's just kind of a crapshoot of what's happening in the lanes nowadays. And I think I'd be I'd be curious to see what your friend would say as far as how he's managing his floor plan, like from the dealer perspective on the financing side with interest rates and the cost of doing business nowadays, that however many units he has on his lot right now, whether that's a target or whether he maybe is a little light or what have you, to manage that cash flow accordingly, so you're not stuck with a Silverado or an F-150 too many and have to take a loss if it doesn't turn.
Yeah. Well, I know that the talking to these guys, and just because I live here and I drive by and I observe, they're actually a little light on inventory on the lot, but that doesn't always mean that there's not more cars at the other lot getting ready to come in. And what you're saying is right, because I just talked to 2 people within 3 weeks that told me a pretty interesting story that I think you guys probably have an article on, which is the lenders right now are really having some problems getting their repos dealt with. And like I talked to a lady the other day, she said, I got a hold of a floor plan company. They said, yeah, we'll give you 250 cars. This person works for a logistics operation, right? Hal, you guys met Hal. Hanson, Adkins Logistics. They're talking to some lender people that are saying, I'll give you 250 cars a month. What are they? Well, they're repos off of car dealer lots and just people. Well, as a logistics company, transportation guy, we don't do repossessions. But I guess where I'm going with this story, guys, is are you seeing lenders having trouble getting their stuff dealt with? Is that a real problem or not?
I think it's definitely a percolating situation. Again, reflecting back at NIADA, just having some anecdotal conversations. There's certain banks and finance companies who have kind of turned up the fee structure to try to incentivize the repo agents to try to go track down those vehicles that are significantly delinquent. So been told. So it's definitely thankfully, at least at this point, defaults haven't spiked. The latest reading that I saw, that Experian and S&P tracks, that it actually was flat and as of May, because it takes there's like a 30 to 60 day lag as far as when the data is updated. But so that at least the overall reading hasn't shown a significant rise, but kind of again showing the benefits of being at an industry event when you just have some chatter from some folks who are at dealerships, at banks and finance companies, that depending on where you are and what part of the credit tier, there's some deterioration out there, and it just is a ripple effect. The repo agents, their holding facilities are at or near capacity, and thus the need for transportation to try to get those vehicles to the auction lanes and if your friend sees an F-150 that isn't all torn to pieces, which it was, I will share this one little personal anecdote. My wife and I, we were taking our two canines to the vet last Friday morning, and there was presumably, I'm fairly confident in saying there was an F-150 with a lift kit and upgraded wheels that it looked like it was a repossession, because how it was going down the highway did not appear as if it was a broken vehicle. It was likely a repossession. So it's difficult to read exactly how much of a lift there is industry wide, but it's definitely an issue that's not going away, to use that cliche.
And even with those challenges that Nick laid out, one of the recent data sets that Alex Yurchenko of Black Book presented at NIADA was that the auction volume this year, that there's going to be 2.2. They expect there'll be 2.2 million repo units in the wholesale vehicle supply this year, which is up 2 million from last year. So it's still, I mean, even with all those challenges going on, it's still increasing.
Wow. It's like a 1,000% increase or something. Like that's
2.2 something 2.2 million up from 2 million. So
up from 2 million. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like what? Well, so because we have heard that yes, lenders are looking at trying to prepare to get all the vehicles moved in a recovery yard possession to the auction. And I've even heard talk of, well, if there's a long line, how do we get to the front of the line? And when you hear that, like that is a red flag of we got a squeeze coming. And what are we going to do? And it's interesting because, Nick, you know that we've been talking to Renee Lowe and Brianna Cox about having, sharing more information on what lenders might want to know about the logistics side to help ease that flow. I mean, there's so many different directions we can go in conversation. And that's just from one article. We started talking about a hybrid auction, and now we're talking about recovery. I want to say this about the hybrid auction, is that that's what happens if you sit the four of us down at breakfast. This is what it looked like hanging out with us at breakfast. Any normal person would be like, this is crazy. What are you guys doing? The hybrid auction, is there something new? Because you actually mentioned during COVID, this became more popular. Mm-hmm. What's new about this article, if there is something, in that they hadn't done this before? Can you shed light on that? Because I'm curious.
So I think, I mean, the fact that it is, so it says they have a consignment lot, a test track, and vehicle inspection services there. I don't know that it's, this is a concept that others have tried and done, but I think the fact that it's a brand new auction built specifically to do this,
that's what I was actually wondering. If this is a new location, because I don't think I've heard of MAG Alaska before.
It's a brand new location. Coin. It's and
they have vehicles.
Most of the time you would think when an auction company is going to build a brand new auction, it would be for, it'd be your traditional auction approach, or maybe when if they want to have a hybrid auction, they would take one that's existing and kind of scale it down. But this was built for the sole purpose of having a hybrid auction. So I think that was the most interesting part to me.
And it's running on E-Block, which is really interesting. Yeah. That is really interesting.
I got a question. This ties right in. So ACV, one of the articles on the site I saw was ACV is getting into commercial.
Yes.
Right? Yes. And so explain that for a minute, because I think it's going to tie into this McConkey story here in just a second, maybe.
So it's always been a part of their plan, kind of their roadmap. But now essentially they are opening up, all of their digital solutions to any commercial consignor, who wants it, including their sales and their inspection business. And then now, they've already started working with folks in that space. And they met, when I was talking to George Shimon, the CEO, he basically explained that, where there is, if a consignor already has, physical space, for example, a rental company that might have, car sales lots and that kind of thing, where they already have the physical infrastructure, ACV is ready to roll with them right now. But if an auction needs, space, needs some physical, or if a consignor needs some physical space to get some of that done, what ACV is doing is building out, I think they call them remarketing centers. Yes, remarketing centers. And as part of that, the ACV has purchased a physical auto auction, and that was Dealers Auto Auction of Oklahoma City. And so that was one of the first, handfuls of locations that the ACV launched as part of this strategy. And they said, they're some of these, remarketing centers they're going to have through, acquisition, buying, physical properties, or greenfield, where they just start the location and rent land without acquiring, a physical auction. So, I don't know, anything of the specifics beyond what George Shimon told me, but, to your point, Ty, I think, could we see, one of these remarketing centers look similar, to what MAG Alaska has done, where, they're building a site where a dealer can come and inspect vehicles. Consignors have a physical facility to house vehicles, store vehicles, and that kind of thing. I think it plays into the notion that there is going to be more of this hybrid approach to selling vehicles where on one hand you have a traditionally physical auto auction company like McConkey Auction Group launching, first of all, partnering with an e-block and launching a hybrid sale. And then you have a traditional digital channel, ACV, that's going and buying a physical auto auction and starting physical remarketing centers. And of course, e-block has been doing this as well. So,
isn't that wild?
Yeah. Yeah, my hunch is that will continue, and you'll see others enter this kind of approach to having both a physical and digital presence, in their operations.
And
every
just
time I have, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, just to continue your point, Ty, about the interconnectivity of this whole used car business. Your friend whose dealership is behind you might have a potential customer who's looking for a 2020 F-150 and magnetic gray Super Crew 4-wheel drive, and the dealer might have the best opportunity to satisfy that customer because there's Westlake Repo at Z66 auction that's might have the best opportunity to make some margin and get it to the customer, and if it's not all torn to pieces. So that shows that your friend might be sitting in his office with his iPad and see that and thinking of the customer that he's trying to satisfy through a repo. That's just all hypothetical, but it shows that the interconnectivity.
And this is exactly why, having roots in transportation and logistics, we're going everywhere we can because it's all connected.
Yeah, it really is nowadays.
Well, go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, along those lines, that's sort of the theme of our the white paper that we have just put together. We break it up into 4 sections: retail, wholesale, finance, and collections. Nick does finance and collections. I do retail and wholesale. Retail and wholesale. And the whole kind of theme of this was how each piece is interconnected to the next one. And it really is a connected ecosystem, and especially for companies that play in all 4 of those spaces.
Yeah. So one of the things when I was at NIADA, I intentionally would talk to dealers, and I asked, how do you like ACV? How do you like the physical auction? How do you like buying online? And I got a lot of feedback that maybe nobody wants to hear, which was sale fees are too high, buy fees are too high, arbitration's a train wreck, condition reports are a train wreck. A lot of that pushback. And then I'm like, okay, well how are you buying cars? Oh, we put the sandwich sign out front. We buy cars and pay top dollar. That was Doug Hadden. How do you say his last name? Hadden. That was like Doug Hadden's.
Yeah, Doug Hadden.
Yeah. So where I'm going with this is that I also feel like there's this undertow of dealers' dissatisfaction with all of it, right? In everything we're talking about. So what do you mean? Well, there's Dealers Link, there's VinQ, there's Buy in the Lane, there's technology now that I'm listening to one of these guys talk about, I was Paul Machine, talk about giving the salesperson a check writing privilege, I think he calls it, check writing something. So they're teaching salespeople how to engage with a customer that pulls on the lot to try to buy that car and write them a check right now. Have you guys heard this stuff?
Yeah,
Hi, welcome to the dealership. Okay, we're gonna buy that car.
Yeah. We don't care if you're here to buy one. We just want your car.
We just bought your car.
I believe it was at Used Car Week in 2022, and either at Auto Intel Summit this year, or actually last year, that we had a couple of workshops on basically how dealers can buy cars from the public, and those were, with kind of inside baseball, workshops can be at a conference, can be hit or miss. You might have 10 people in a workshop room you might be expecting 10 and then have 200. Well, that was the case with these buying cars from the public workshops, is that they were
I
packed.
saw that too. Yeah.
There were dealers who couldn't get in them. I mean, it was just the rooms were overflowing because so many dealers and people and even non-dealers were interested in this capability of buying from the public. And
yet I saw in a news article somebody was shedding locations, and they mentioned buying centers. So things go through a cycle, right? But the strategy itself is a new strategy, which the hybridization models continue to exponentially accelerate.
Well, and I think too, just anecdotally, and I've talked with, different throughout the years. I've talked with different interviews about a lot of the general public doesn't realize you can sell your car to a dealer even if you're not buying one, and they will happily buy your car. I mean,
they give you a ride home too.
Right? Yeah, they might these days. They might give you. They might partner with Uber or Lyft and get you an Uber or Lyft home. I think CarMax has done a great job of their "We'll buy your car" strategy, and even Carvana I guess it was last year they started doing those commercials. They did a whole campaign about, we'll buy your car. And
if you look at the number of places that will buy your car now, if you're a consumer, and actually Tim Skoudelitz from Max Digital, he's making videos about a year and a half ago, comparing all the places you can sell your car and pricing and what to look for, and the power's in the consumer's hands.
And I mean, you do for a dealer, it does make I guess based on price points. I mean, it may be more financially advantageous. They may find they can determine that buying it from a consumer is worth X amount of dollars versus what they might pay for it in a more competitive marketplace.
And it is actually that, and I sat in a buying vehicle center seminar with workshop with VinQ, and they show you the numbers, the cost of vehicle acquisition through consumer. You'll save thousands of dollars actually in the final sale in your profit. So that's why they are aggressively running through the streets. We'll buy your car.
Well, yeah, and then I mean, and each approach has its advantages and disadvantages, and having not being a dealer and not ever purchased a car wholesale, I'm only speaking from what I observed, but you might have more, that a consumer car can be a little bit more of a one-off thing. You see a car that comes in, or you're kind of. I imagine there's a lot more selection. On going to a marketplace where you can go look for something specific, because they're going to have more cars than probably your consumer.
Absolutely. They both have advantages. Just like a 9-car hauler versus a wedge trailer. You have different advantages of volume and what you're trying to do. So that is really interesting. But the fact that it's on the table as a vehicle acquisition strategy, it's just that, if you're buying one car at a time from people and you're trying to stock up 100 cars, you're gonna be pretty busy.
But I'll be interested to see how this trend plays out a year, 2, 3 from now. Not to pour cold water on everything, but could see the grit in the gears being all these folks who paid 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand over MSRP for a brand new vehicle, whatever it is. And then it's like, oh, I heard you'll buy any car sandwich board sign, and the dealer brings up the financial status and says, oh my gosh, this car's still 18.5 underwater. I don't want that. And the trend kind of reverses itself because there's so much negative equity
right
in the pipeline.
You end up owing money when you sell your car.
Exactly. I mean, that might be a situation 18, 24, 36 months down the road, and dealers have to deal with Friday, July 7th at 1:40 Eastern time. But I'll be curious to see what happens down the road on that front.
Well, and I just was thinking this. So just like vehicle acquisition from consumers, one car at a time, the repossession movement to auction isn't that much different. You're not moving 9 cars from a recovery lot.
Right.
You're moving 1 at a time, 2, 3 at a time at best. And so that's
good for the wedgie business.
Well, it's interesting you say that. It's some of the problems. This is one of the things we've learned by talking to Brianna Cox is that what we thought, we'd have frustrations. We can't just show up and pick up the car like any other auction or a dealership. No, you need an appointment. Really? Why? Well, because the car isn't accessible. It's parked by the fence. And you know what the problem is? Our lot is full. So you can't just show up whenever. And by the way, even though the lot's full, we don't have somebody on staff 24 hours like an auction or a dealership or whatever. So the recovery location is it's a bit of a perfect storm.
Really is. Yeah, because they truly have to have a secure facility, because you can just do some Google searching and see that truly heinous activities that have happened where some disgruntled people will just go to a repo yard and torch a dozen vehicles just because.
See, and I wasn't even thinking about that problem.
Oh yeah, I mean,
so it's a bit of a dangerous place.
Oh yeah, right? No, there's no. You show up with a tow truck at 3 a.m. to lift somebody's charger that they haven't paid on for 120 days. You might encounter some irate individuals.
Which is also why when the driver's chapped about 15 minutes appointment time, this guy's thinking, man, I just risked my life last night.
Oh, man. Interesting times for sure.
And again, this is what it's like to have breakfast with Jay, Ty, Nick, and Joe.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's what we should do next time. We should do it like a Seinfeld episode where we're having lunch in a diner.
Gosh, yes.
That'd be amazing.
I love it.
I'm down. Well, again, I want to plug Jay. Let's get everybody to go sign up. And also, we can find you guys on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Please do.
Is that where?
Thank you.
Yeah. Nick Zulovich. Follow Nick. Follow Joe. Bill. Thank you, Bill Zadeits. That's my saying. Thank you, Bill Zadeits.
Yes.
I love that guy. And but anyway, we want all of our fans, all of our community to go find Joe, go find Nick, LinkedIn, sign up for Cherokee Media Automotive News.
At minimum. That's what I started to do years ago, and my eyes were open to a whole other part of the ecosystem. And that's when I realized we got to bring the new, and it's always updating. We didn't even talk about, and we're not going to go into it, but like this caught my eye. And by this, there's a search bar too. So if you can't find an article, you just type in, like I typed in ACV and it took me to the consignment article. Oh, here's a podcast. Let's see if it's still up here. Halo.Car begins driverless delivery of remote-controlled EVs.
Yeah.
Holy robots. What?
Hey, whoa.
I think it's good for the industry that they're doing that. I think it's if they can make it safe, if these autonomous vehicles can be executed safely without accidents, that's probably a step in the right direction. Me personally, I'm not getting in one, but
well, here's what's interesting. This is on the robotics system. We see videos. Ty, you saw the video yesterday I shared on Dispatching Live at the port. I don't know if you want to see this.
I sent you that one.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Ty. Ty sends me a lot of great videos. And I mean, the port is run by all these cargo moving robots. And it's not run by, but I think it's an inevitability in the short term that you have self-driving, self-delivering, whether it's cars on robots or the cars do it themselves. I just think that's inevitable.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know, but see, the question I have is autonomous ICE or is autonomous EV? So who knows the answer to that question?
Well, my guess is it would probably be EVs, just the way things are going.
I agree.
That would be my guess too. So now I've got a bigger problem with the idea because we haven't figured out the EV problem yet.
But it helps explain why we're pushing EV so hard. Because that makes a lot of sense. A car isn't going to gas itself up. But it will charge itself. It'll find a charger.
Find a pad.
Find a pad.
I'll have a pad.
Right?
Park it on the pad.
But that is what's weird. Why is it being pushed so hard? Now we go back to climate change. But then we hear, are we really fixing the climate? You send me those videos. I'm so proud.
Man.
I feel like I can watch anything and I can feel the emotions, but still look at it objectively. Like the Halo.Car. Listen, this is a transportation and logistics roots channel, but I'm telling you, I see that. I'm like, that's inevitable. Just like when I heard that the ports would be full of cargo moving robots. When I first heard that, I'm like, that makes sense.
Well, y'all are in Missouri. I'll be looking forward to hearing your observations of when I-70 and I-44 is full of Roombas on wheels.
Oh, wow.
No thanks.
I'm going to go 2050. Okay?
Maybe.
That's 27 years, but it will be full of Roombas in 2050. Shake on it?
Guys, yeah, it's a deal.
It's a
Breakfast.
Deal. Breakfast.
Loser buys breakfast.
Loser buys breakfast. I love it. This is good.
Now, Joe and Nick, as always, man, we so appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
You're just amazing. We borderline idolize you guys. Thank you for what you do.
That's very sweet. Thank you.
Incredibly
Appreciate
good.
it. Always good talking with you guys.
Yeah, thank you. All right,
awesome.
Jay.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much.
Take care.
We'll
Thanks for
let you know
having
here.
us.
See you guys.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care.
Thank you all.
Bye.
All right, thanks so much. All right, so what we'll do is we will we'll end the show here, and as we do, we just land the plane quickly. It's ATI, it's auto business, and there's that article again. Halo.Car begins Halo.Car begins driverless delivery of remote controlled EVs. You can read all about it on autoremarketing.com. I suggest highly go to autoremarketing.com and just start reading. And there'll be podcasts. If you subscribe, you'll get the email. And it's in the email that I get a lot of the podcast links, but they can also be found on the site. And so Nick Zulovich, Joe Overby, they were our guests today, and they are senior editors and contributors of Auto Remarketing Magazine, which is a part of Cherokee Media Group. And in fact, we didn't even talk about it, but Cherokee Media Group is the host of Used Car Week, one of the largest automotive trade shows that we know of as far as popularity of diversity of all the different verticals in automotive. When I talk about the ecosystem, I'm talking about the different verticals that make up automotive. You got new and used and wholesale and retail and financial. And then obviously in our neck of the woods, you've got equipment and loads and technology, etc. Brokers, carriers, dealers, auctions, and around it goes. And so if you want to learn more, go to autoremarketing.com. Thanks for tuning in for today's ATI Auto Business Cars on the Move. And if you missed it live, watch it on demand and learn more about Cherokee Media Group and Auto Remarketing. Tuesday night is a carrier show, so we will see Charles will be live with us. Douglas will be with us. We're still working on casting, so we'll be working on that through the weekend. And so thank you so much. Please do join us Tuesday night for Carrier Roundtable live on ATI Auto Business. Everybody take care, have a safe weekend, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.